Hello, I'm Ruben and welcome to this week's Samplecast. This is episode 27. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got bargains this week, there's news, there's a really interesting review and also a composer interview with one of my favourite composers. So get to the podcast to have a listen to that interview in full. In the meantime, here's the show. First up, a library from Ross Sampson. It's Church Bells Volume 1, and I fear a little bit for Ross's life because he's obviously climbed up the church tower himself and rung these bells by hand. You've got a 300 megabyte library here. It runs in the full version of Contact and it features 12 English church bells with 5 round robins and 4 different microphone perspectives. There are 2 articulations here. One is the bells being rung with the rope, and the other one he's gone up the clock tower and he's actually hit the bells themselves with their clappers inside. I've had a little play with this library and I have to say the sampling is very realistic. Some really nice microphone staging here too. So whether you want to use these bells for sound design or add some kind of winter magic to your Christmas tracks, it's a really interesting collection to have around. Check it out at the Ross Sampson website. Embertone have kicked off a new series of libraries with their Mountain Dulcimer. Runs in the full version of Contact. It's 3.2 gigabytes in size, which is quite a large size for a Dulcimer library, and it basically samples a small mountain zither. You've got playable patches here and a strumming engine on board too. With Embertone there's always lots of round robins, and that's the case here too, and there's a number of different ways to play. This is one of Embertone's most meticulously sampled instruments. It sounds really gorgeous, really realistic. There's 9,000 samples here and I can't wait to have a play with it. Check it out at the Embertone website. A smaller developer next, it's Tangent Edge Instruments and their 80s electric piano Bright Pro. This samples the iconic Yamaha DX7 Mark II and runs in the full version of Contact. This is really great for recreating a kind of cheesy 80s ballad vibe with that famous Full Tines Yamaha preset. There's also lots of other presets on board here as well and some interesting effects included too. Have a look at the Tangent Edge Instruments website. Lastly, a really interesting plugin from iZotope. This is called Neutron. You might remember a few weeks ago I was shouting about their free plugin called Neutrino, which was available to kind of test the algorithms that Neutron uses. Well, this is the full-blown version of the plugin, and it's for individual tracks, although you could use it on a master bus, I guess, too. And like most of iZotope's plugins, the workflow is based around modules, which can be rearranged in the GUI. The modules are EQ, compression, exciter, limiter, transient shaper, and that kind of thing. The normal things you'd find on a kind of mastering or channel strip plugin. But there are a couple of big selling points here with Neutron. The first is the auto detection mode, which detects what kind of instrument is running through the plugin, and then it suggests modules and settings to tame the sibilance, resonance, and harshness. And the idea of Neutron is that it's supposed to make your tracks clearer and easier to mix. Another interesting function is when you put Neutron on 2 or more tracks and the plugins can actually talk to each other. Then you can use the masking meter to analyse when there are EQ conflicts, where one track's EQ might be masking another, and then you can set Neutron to sort this out and kind of carve a space in the mix for each track. There's lots of informative videos on the iZotope website and the YouTube channel as well, and this makes it much easier to kind of get your head around what's happening with Neutron because it's a little bit difficult for me to explain. Check it out at the iZotope website. Something of a departure for this week's big review. It's actually an online course, the Aspiring Trailer Music Composer, hosted by Evenant. This has been written by Christian Barczyk, who has great success with trailer music placements all over the world in huge movie campaigns. This is an online course, it's $137, and you can pay for it in one go, although you can split it into 4 monthly payments as well. All the content is hosted online and you can tick off the modules as you do them. I'd estimate that probably if you raced through the modules, you could read it all at once and complete everything within 2 or 3 days if you really had at it. But the idea is to move through the course slowly, designed to take your time. You can work through the examples and learn the individual processes as you go. The course contains text, audio and video examples, and it's written in a kind of breezy, comfortable to read style without too much jargon. So what did I think of the course? Well, first off, I was able to have access to the course a little bit early, which gave me access to a beta version, and I provided a lot of feedback to the creators, most of which has been incorporated into the course itself. So since I first looked at it, the course has been expanded and updated, and that's what I really like about the guys who are organising this. They're able to take on feedback, and they've actually expanded it several times since I looked at it, so it looks like the course is always going to be developing and expanding. The content here is clearly laid out, and it's really easy to get a handle on. It's simple enough for beginners, but there's something for everyone, except those that have probably been in the trailer industry for a few years. The workflow and productivity sections are very detailed and surprisingly useful. This is especially handy for someone like me who procrastinates a little bit and has trouble keeping organised amongst a lot of different projects. There's also a 30-day money guarantee available too. I'd say if you're a seasoned composer, some of the information, such as the advice on hardware and software, may be a little bit too basic for you. The free sample library as well is just 18 sounds, although the sounds have all been used in the video walkthrough and I can see why they're useful. It would be useful to give away some more sounds so that people can experiment for themselves a little bit more fully. In conclusion, I do think this is a really well thought out course. It's fantastically put together. It seems to be being constantly updated and expanded, as I say. One thing to realise that it's not a general composing guide and it's not cheap, but if you do want to get very specific advice from an expert about trailer scoring and constructing tracks that will actually get placements, then I've not seen really anything else like it on the market. Head over to the description in the link below to have a look at the course on Evenant. This is the section of the show to keep an eye on if you want to pick up some great bargains, and the first is from Sampletraxx. It's called Bleed and it's available via VST Buzz. Sampletraxx makes some fantastic, great little libraries, and here you've got 270 WAV files for trailer scoring and hybrid sound design too. All the sounds here have a kind of electronic glitchy edge, kind of stuttering effects that you might find in Transformers movies. They're perfect for crunchy, hard-hitting sound design. I actually reviewed Bleed back in Samplecast 11 and gave it a good recommendation, so it was pretty much a no-brainer then, and very much so now at 70% off. It's just €9.99. Check the show description for the direct link. The next offer is something really special from Private Labs. It's called Scream Elements. Now, I've looked at some of the other screen libraries from Private Labs over the past few months, and basically they're collections of aleatoric orchestral effects. The libraries are split into brass, there's one for woodwinds, there's one for strings, and there's one for the entire orchestra. The entire library is normally over $500, but Private Labs have taken all the content here and bundled it into Scream Elements. It's a very generous offer because you basically get all of the patches and effects that are available in all of the 4 different libraries. The only limitation here is that they've just included the Decca microphones. So you've got 1,700 effect samples here, which is a huge amount for the price. Normally the price is $49. But I've done a little bit of wheeling and dealing and negotiated it down to $39 for viewers of the Samplecast. You need to go to the Private Labs website and put in the coupon code SCSE10, and then you'll pick up this bargain priced library. I really can't recommend this one highly enough. If you head over to Plugin Boutique, you can find Tony Coleman drums by Sonivox at a huge discount. You've got 20 gigabytes of drum sounds here, all wrapped up in a plugin which is authentic for kind of rhythm and blues, rock and pop drum tracks. Tony Coleman himself has worked with legendary artists such as B.B. King and Etta James, and the drum samples here have been recorded to tape, and you've got a really cool, quite simple interface where you can add extra hits and tweak the effects quite easily. It's not especially difficult to get your head round, it's pretty much pick up and play, and the drums sit really nicely in your mix without too much messing about. It was £90, now $14.99, available at Plugin Boutique until the end of October. I'm really happy to say we've added another composer to our Samplecast alumni. It's Simon Rahm, and you can hear him talking about his track There's Something Behind the Door on the Samplecast podcast. It's a really interesting interview from this German composer and music and sound lecturer. He breaks down his minimalistic track and how it was put together. Not only does he talk about the cue itself, but also he chats about his early composing life and how he got where he is today. You can check out the full interview on the Samplecast podcast. I've been working for a couple of weeks on the Minimal and Grosso updates from Sonokinetic. It's been a few years since Minimal came out, and it was really the very first phrase-based orchestral library where you could mix and match tempo-synced sections and phrases. So since then, Sonokinetic have done kind of 4 to 5 more libraries which improved the engine with each one. So they've pushed the capabilities of the phrase-based playing even further and even further. Now, they asked me to test out the updates for Minimal and Grosso, and I put a couple of walkthrough videos together for these as well. And it was really lovely to go back, especially for Minimal, which I hadn't used for a couple of years. I really kind of fell in love with it all over again, and it was great to revisit. So the main improvements here are that the playing is tighter and smoother, and they've added in more complex harmonic shift functions, release tail volume controls, MIDI drag and drop, and new key switches for the phrase follow option. They've also added complete control compatibility and loads of other cool stuff to bring Minimal up to date. It really does sound as gorgeous as ever, as does Grosso, which has also been brought up to date with a few new features, including the MIDI drag and drop, as I say. I've done the videos for both of these to explain what's going on. I enjoyed them all over again, and anyone who's got Minimal or Grosso, it's really a no-brainer to update. You'll have a lot of fun with these new features in these libraries. Soniccouture have released a new library called XBow guitars, but it's really an update and expansion of their old EBow guitar library. They've added 12 gigabytes of new samples here, brand new instruments and brand new ways of recording them too. So this now runs in the Contact player and it's compatible with complete control hardware too. The main instruments here are acoustic and electric guitars played with both a violin bow and an e-bow as well. They've also included an instrument called Gizmotron guitar, which is a device with kind of little rubber wheels which bow the strings. And finally, the last instrument which they've got on offer here is called the Vibrator Guitar, where they've used an electronic massage device. You can imagine what that is without too much thought. Basically a vibrator. They've recorded lots of different articulations here, and there's 130 preset snapshots too. It's available for 25% discount until mid-October, so check it out at the Soniccouture website. Thank you so much for watching this week's Samplecast. You can find out more about the show at thesamplecast.com. Of course, you can reach us in all the normal ways via Facebook, via Twitter. You can email us directly too at thesamplecast@gmail.com. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you want to hear these products in action, I recommend you going over to the Samplecast podcast. Download that and you'll be able to hear more of all of the products that I've talked about, and also Simon chatting about his track for the composer interview. We'll see you again next week for episode 28. Bye bye now.